So you have freed Callie and Shirochi. You've danced away around a bunch of plates, survived being booped 400 times, and have used up way too many raid banners. Now it's time to enter the third encounter within the Last Wish raid, Morgeth the Spirekeeper. He nasty. Guardians, what's up ladies and gentlemen of the nation? Sly here, back at you with part 3 of my Last Wish raid guide. Now we have freed Callie and Shiro, but our next fight, well, we have no intentions of trying to keep this dude alive. Morgeth can either be one of the easiest encounter of the raid, or your next wall, depending on your team and the ability to change things up on the fly. However, like always, there are some things you can do to make things easier on yourselves. So let's dive in, go over map layout, team loadouts, subclasses, strategies, and the works. So first, before we begin guys, there's a secret chest in between Shirochi and Morgeth. Once you defeat Shirochi, hop off the ledge directly behind her and enter the crystal cave. Stay straight and then hang a left. All you have to do is climb your way up these ledges by using the trees. Keep going up, and once you make it to the third level of ledges right above the final tree sticking out of the side, follow the ledge as it hugs around the mountain, jump over the gap, and you'll see the second chest chillaxing here in the shade. Once again, chests do not drop powerful gear, but hey, it's raid gear, and who doesn't like new raid gear? If you're lucky, you'll even get some queen weapons, which I'm still waiting for my Supremacy sniper rifle. Anyways, after comparing rolls or bragging about what you had from the last fight, let's head over to Morgeth. Now, once you're in the crystal cave, you want to stay to the right pathway and work your way up. Once the cave ends and you're overlooking the city, look up and to your left. More ledges are available to use. Just keep using the ledges and you'll make it back to solid ground with a taken portal right in front of you. Hop into the taken portal and complete the short jumping puzzle. Go through the last portal and you're now at encounter number 3. Okay, so first guys, let's start out with team composition, loadouts, and map layout. Starting with the map, let's get us some learning on. So what you want to do here is split your team up into 2 groups of 3. 3 are going to go left, and 3 are going to go right. On each side of the map, you're going to notice these blue circles to the left and right of the boss. They're each on different levels. These blue circles are where 99% of all of the adds come from within this encounter. So starting with the left side, they spawn at the very top right here, and then immediately right below it. If you're the left group, start off underneath this gazebo structure. Rally barricades and healing rifts work well for this part, no matter what side you're on. Now for the right group, which is where my perspective will be for most of this encounter, your circles are right next to the boss. This blue circle is your top ad spawning area, and then directly below it is where the other groups of enemies can spawn. Now except for the initial wave of enemies, every other ad that spawns after the first few waves will come from one of these 4 blue plates. Also, just like the other encounters, you have to kill the majority of your ads or you cannot continue your progress. We'll go into details about that here in a few. Next, let's go over teams and loadouts. Now, there are no must-have supers for this encounter. However, Well of Radiance Warlock, Sentinel Titan, and Tether Hunters will make your life way easier, and they are definitely recommended. As long as you have a Well of Radiance and a Banner Shield, the rest of you need to focus on ad-clearing supers. So, Hammer Bros, Chaos Reach, Stormcaller, Arcstrider works extremely well, especially Arcstrider with Ride and Flux. It works, I mean, it's awesome. However, Tether with Orpheus Rigs, that'll probably be more beneficial for the entire team. Now, as far as weapon loadouts, this is where your sleeper finally gets a rest and the good old Whisper comes back into the fold. If your Whisper is super low, however, you can buy it back from your collections and it will drop 20 light lower than your current power level. If you're lower than 555 for this encounter, then just simply use what keeps you above 555. This is a level 570 encounter, and being 10 levels below isn't that bad, but once you start hitting 15 or below that, then it seems like you start taking twice the amount of damage, and also your damage seems to be like cut in half. So again, if your Whisper is too low and it sets you back, then never mind the nap for the sleeper, go ahead and put it back on. As far as your secondary, Ikelos still works well here, or any other shotgun that you have, and if possible, try to have a shotgun that's solar if you're not using Ikelos. The Eye of Riven captains have solar shields, so matching it up to get a little more damage, that's completely worth it. Okay, so next up, let's get into labeling some new items. So to the left of the boss, you're going to notice a kind of taken pillar. In the center of this pillar, about halfway up, is a huge orb. That orb is what's known as taken strength. Now, these will appear around the map, and the goal is to, as a team, spread taken strength out to just about every fire team member until you have 10 taken strength divided up across your teammates. 5 of us will have taken strength times 2. So if that's 5 teammates, 2 times 5, that's 10 taken strength in total, and it's time for damage phase. Also, notice the positioning of the very first Taken Strength orb. When you grab it, this not only officially starts the encounter, but it also lets you know when it's time for damage. Once you grab this orb, more will spawn around the map, and when you see that this orb returns to this very spot next to the boss, you are on the last Taken Strength orb before it's time to do damage. As soon as someone grabs it, the boss will no longer be immune, and it's time to damage. Once again, we'll get to damage here in a few. Now, it sounds easy, right? But there are a couple of problems. First, you can never have any more than ×2 Taken Strength, which I'm just going to call Strength from now on. If you have 2 Strength and you go to grab a third one, it will insta-kill you, so keep that in mind. Next, let's talk about the Taken Captains called Eye of Riven, and the other Taken Major I simply call the Imposter. So just like previous encounters, the captains called Eye of Riven will be spawning in with ads on each of the blue plates. When you kill them, they drop something called Taken Essence, just like the last encounter. When you pick up the Essence, you can use the right trigger to shoot missiles, which aren't that good for boss damage, but amazing for clearing ads. One missile can pretty much destroy an entire wave of Thrall, so definitely use it to your advantage. There's also the super ability, which is how you stun bosses. And finally, the cleansing ability, which is tied to your grenade button. The Taken Essence that drops from the Eye of Riven is a one-time use thing. Once you pick it up and it turns you into a Taken Guardian, you cannot drop it like a relic or an Awoken Charge. And you also cannot use it for too long. Once you get to Taken Essence ×10 on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, it will kill you. So to release yourself from being taken, simply use the super ability. Also, notice the time. Do not confuse the time with how long you have before you die. If you don't get rid of this buff before you hit ×10, it will kill you. The timer you see down there is a debuff, which stops you from picking up another ball of Taken Essence. Also, in the beginning, you cannot grab the Taken Essence if you have Taken Strength. Since you're going to be using that buff to free someone a little later, you're going to need 0 Taken Strength. I'll explain why here in a second. But there is an order in which everyone picks everything up, which we'll also get to here in a few. Now, as far as spawning, the Eye of Riven captains can spawn on any side of the map. There could be 2 left, 2 on right, or if you're lucky, 1 on each side. There can only ever be 2 Taken Essences on the map at any given time, which means there will only be 2 Riven captains on the field at any given time as well. Also, the plates that do not have the Eye of Riven captains, they get a major enemy I call the Imposter. Now, they look similar, but it's a vandal with some spiky hair trying to be a captain. Even though they do not drop the Taken Essence buff, they have to be killed. Otherwise, the next set of captains will not spawn in and the round just kind of stalemates. It's also the same with Thrall. If you let too many escape or you don't kill enough of them, the encounter will not progress because you left too many alive. Now, you don't have to kill all of them. A few can escape, but the majority should be taken care of ASAP. Spawn kill them with grenades and supers, but definitely try to kill them all. Okay, so now that we have all of that labeled, let's talk about one last thing before we set it all into motion. Once the fight starts and you're starting to grab Taken Strength, there will be times during the match where one person will get trapped inside of these tornadoes that the boss throws out. Only the players with Taken Strength will get trapped, and to free them, you have to pick up the Taken Essence that's dropped from the Eye of Riven captains. We'll just call them captains from here on out. So to free them, you have to pick up the Taken Essence, then bust them out of their twirly prison using the grenade ability. Right trigger shoots Taken missiles, super ability frees you from being taken and also stuns bosses, grenade ability cleanses things like the Guardian in the tornado. However, there are timers everywhere, and the tornado is no exception. Your trapped teammate only has 30 seconds before the tornado will kill him or her, so you have to be fast. This entire encounter is all about speed and changing things up on the fly if need be. And the last thing you need to take note of, guys, is that when a trapped player is freed, they pass their Taken Strength onto the person that freed them, which is why I mentioned earlier that you need to have 0 strength to grab Taken Essence at the beginning, because remember, Taken Strength ×3 will kill you. 2 is the max you can have. So if you grab some and then free somebody else and they give you their ×2, you're going to die because of that. Okay, so now let's set everything into motion. Plop down your raid banner and everyone rally up. Split up into 2 teams of 3. 3 go left, 3 go right. You want to designate your first jobs. One person on each side will be starting off as the Taken Essence grabber. Next, you want to assign who's going to grab Strength first and who's going to grab Strength second. The goal here is to get all Taken Strength off of the field and into our Guardians as fast as possible. The faster you grab these things, the more time you'll have to do damage. In a good run, you'll down him in 2 damage cycles. Most of it will happen the first damage phase and then 5 or 6 shots in the second and he'll be dead. A fantastic run, you can one-phase him, which is completely possible once your whole team gets up there in power levels and if you run the first round like really fast. So once you have your jobs assigned, break off into your groups and get ready. For instance, in this fight, I was the person who was assigned to cleanse first. My other teammates were to get taken strength first, and then of course the last guy gets their strength second. So to start off the encounter, one of the players who was assigned to grab strength first will grab the first orb in the middle. Now adds will spawn in. The initial wave consists of thralls and ogres, 1 ogre per side and then 2 in the middle. Do not use your supers here. Take your time, use rally barricades and a small warlock rift for healing. The new Taken Ogre laser beam sucks, as we all know. It has this new pushback mechanic which can trap you in a corner, you can't leave, and it'll kill you. So make sure you watch out for that. Now every single ad has to die on this first couple of waves before the encounter really begins. Once all of the ogres and every last thrall is gone, you'll start seeing ads spawn in on your blue plates. Save your grenades because 2 waves of thrall will spawn in first, and then during the 3rd wave, you'll start to see the Eye of Riven captains and the imposters. This is a good time to pop your first super. Call it out so you're the only one popping your super on your side. Try to chain orbs to the best of your ability here. A well-placed tether can last for a very long time, pretty much trapping every wave of spawning enemies until the end. This also suppresses the captain's darkness blast, which if you're low in power, can kill you quite easily. Once the captains start spawning in, Taken Strength will also start appearing around the map. The player who started the encounter will now grab his second strength, and once they do, you want to head towards the middle but stay on your side. Your team is going to need your help with ad control, and the reason you want to stay somewhere in the middle when you have ×2 Taken Strength is because you cannot move while you're in the tornado, and if you're the one who is caught, you want to be in a central location and easily accessible or spotted. Because if you remember, like we talked about earlier, it could work out to where the player is trapped on the right side, but the right side has 2 imposters, which means both Taken Essences will be on the left. So now the left-hand guy is going to have to grab it, come all the way over there to free you, so that does take time. And if the trap player was not in the center, somewhere in the far back corner trying to stay safe, there was no way, I could make it all the way to the left side, grab the eye, pick it up, and then make a way all the way back over there with enough time to cleanse him. So the instant you have ×2 strength, you want to be somewhere central, close to cover, while still being able to help your team shoot ads from a distance. You can also take out ads and captains on the lowest spawning platforms right here. I would avoid jumping up to the top because you want to be somewhat centrally located. Okay, so for example, I grab the eye and free the first person who's trapped. I now gain their ×2 strength while the freed player is back at 0. So basically now we're just switching jobs. All the while this is going on, the 3rd teammate on my side, who is grabbing strength second, is shooting ads and grabbing strengths as they appear. Anytime you are caught in a tornado with Taken Strength and then freed, you are now the player responsible for using the Taken Essence next in line, and your Taken Strength was reset to 0 because it was passed off to the person who freed you. Once again, simply switching positions. So now on our side, we have 2 players with Strength ×2, 1 with 0, the other side will be the same. Once you have 4 players with ×2 Strength, you're going to be close to the damage phase. Remember, you'll see the strength orb appear right next to the boss. That's how you know you're going to be close to DPS time. It's the same one that started the encounter. Whoever is up to take strength next picks it up. Now it's time for damage. However, there is an important step we have to talk about first. You have to communicate as a team and let each other know how many Taken Strengths there are, because towards the end, you're going to need to save 1 Taken Essence relic to use on the boss. So once there are 4 guardians with ×2 strength, that means one of you will be at 0, the other will have ×1, waiting for the final strength to appear next to the boss. Once the strength next to the boss has been grabbed, 5 of you have ×2, and it's time for damage. However, all the while this is going on, there should be 1 Taken Essence left over on the ground somewhere. Let it set there for as long as possible. You can see a countdown timer on it. Decide which of you is going for the strength, which of you is going for the eye. Once it's decided, leave the eye laying there for a few until everyone is in place doing damage. You don't want to grab it too early and then die from having the relic too long. So like I mentioned, once everyone is in position doing damage, grab the final Taken Essence before it disappears. His big, nasty, bubbling sores, those are his critical weak spot. It's pretty much right above his face. If you cannot hit this crit spot, then, my friend, that sucks. But anyways, just be aware there is a glitch as well that's going on with a Well of Radiance. Sometimes it doesn't auto-reload. Even though you're getting yellow numbers, it won't always auto-reload your weapon, which takes away a lot of DPS, but you're still, hitting the right spot. Anyways, blast away as much as possible, but keep an eye on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. You'll start to see a percentage, and it's been counting up during the entire encounter. At first, it starts off really slow. It goes from 0% all the way up to 100%. However, the closer it gets to 100%, the faster it goes. For instance, you have more time between 70 and 80% than you do between 80 and 90%. Once you see 90%, 100% is basically a few seconds after that. So during the damage phase, the player who has the taken essence needs to keep a close eye on two things. Number one, his own buff. If it hits taken essence times 10, it will kill him, and they need to get rid of it by discharging the super on the boss before that happens, even if it's too early. This is why you let it sit there for as long as possible. And then number two, keep an eye on the boss countdown. You want to give your teammates as much time to do damage here as possible, but you don't want to wait too long and then have the boss wipe the team. So once you see 80%, take another shot or two with your taken missiles and then use the super on the boss. The super is fairly slow and it does have a little bit of travel time. So while you're waiting to use the taken essence super on the boss, use the right trigger and shoot him as much as possible in the meantime. Then once you see 80, almost 90%, depending on how close you are to the boss, discharge the super. This then stops his wipe mechanic just like it did for Rarity. Just be wary of the super time travel and kind of the animation. It does take a little bit to use. So if you're far away and you use the eye super at like 90%, chances are you'll die before the super actually reaches the boss. So if you're far away, use it right after you see 80. If you're close, use it at 90. As soon as you use the taken essence super on the boss, you'll see some nasty splatters on your screen from popping his gooey blisters, as well as Morgeth's focus is broken and his strength is lost. Congratulations, my friend, that is one full round. It's simply rinse and repeat after that. Exact same positions, but now there will be 2 strength on the field at the beginning instead of just 1, and someone will already have ×2, which makes things a bit easier actually. However, that's the entire encounter, my friend. Getting through your first round flawlessly is the goal here. The better your first phase, the easier the fight, and if you do it fast enough, it is entirely possible to one-phase Morgeth. Also, the better your first phase, the more mess-ups you can have at the end of your second. Dying puts a huge wrench into your time and the rotation. So if you die, you can recover. It won't be, it's still possible, but it will mess up things and people get confused, and that leads to the downfall of the team. So try not to die if at all possible. Now before I go, one thing you need to watch for. The person who picks up the first taken strength in the middle will then pick up the second, and usually that's the person who gets trapped in the tornado first. Whoever side he is on, have the corresponding teammate cleanse them. And now to make things easier, the other side who hasn't cleansed anyone yet will be cleansing next. Even though the person freed needs to do that job as well. You want to make sure you do things in order from the rotation. That makes sure each side is passed it off once. 4 people have strength ×2. Once the final strength orb spawns, one person will grab the final ones while the last grabs the taken essence from the captain. Use your right trigger attack on the boss while watching your taken essence buff, but make sure you fire it when you see ×9. You want to try and leave the taken essence on the ground for as long as possible. If you grab it before the damage phase begins, you will end up screwing the team over because you're going to have to shoot your super way too early. Letting yourself die with a buff, well, that doesn't do anyone any favors because you're the only one who can stop and stun the boss. That means you just wipe the whole team. So only grab it if it's about to despawn, otherwise let it set until you need it. But that is about it, Guardians. The encounter itself isn't that hard. It's actually the easiest encounter of this raid. It's the unpredictability of who gets trapped, where the captains spawn, and along with dying, that's what usually messes teams up. But after some practice rounds and you do all the jobs, you start to see how everything fits together. And all of a sudden, you'll get that aha moment and realize it's not that bad at all. As always, this is only the beginning of the second week of the raid, so another method could pop up here soon which kind of sorts out everything nice and neat and makes it incredibly easy. But I don't see it becoming any easier than it already is. But until that happens, this is the best method I've used so far. One-phasing him, by far the easiest way you're going to do this encounter. But good luck, Guardians, you got this, and as always, thank you for watching and supporting Sly Nation. Feel free to check me out on Twitter or Facebook at Sly Nation Gaming on the FB. Subscribe for more Dreaming City and Last Wish raid guides. Spank the thumbs up, but only if you enjoyed yourself. And keep those eyes open for more vids coming out soon. But until then, this is your dude Sly, and I'll catch you all in the next encounter, the Vault Mechanism.